Yo guys, first video here. Straight up, just going to be talking about uh, Lebedev. I think that's how you say his name. Um, if you've been, unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know about the situation with Russia and Ukraine. Russia has, as of about 2 weeks ago, invaded Ukraine, a sovereign country, and it is now sort of being brought back into like the public eye, or for many people, perhaps the first time being brought into the public eye. The extent, um, well, they never really covered it properly, but the extent to which Russian influence has an effect on our politics, and there's some serious implications here that I want to talk about. Primarily focusing on that horrible incestuous relationship between the entities of media and politics and the geopolitical implications. So first up, okay, so it says here, and this is on Wikipedia, you can look it up if you want to. It's all sourced, so it is reliable information. So Russian British businessman who owns Lebedev Holdings Limited, which in turn owns Evening Standard, The Independent, and the TV channel London Live. Now I don't watch a lot of TV, so I'm not really sure about sort of the political leaning of this channel, but I can tell you that Evening Standard is right wing. And has backed Boris Johnson in, to my knowledge, all of his campaigns since he started, like even going for the mayorship of London. Yeah, so he's a Russian oligarch and a former KGB agent, or KGB officer, which I guess is the same thing. So dodgy bloke, worked for a pretty nasty entity, in the Soviet Union. So red flags maybe, pun not intended, but yeah. So like, in July 2020. He was nominated for a life peerage in the fucking House of Lords. So, we've got this guy who, he's basically he owns like, I think it's like 65% of the the Evening Standard. I read it down here. So 65% share in the Evening Standard newspaper. He got a peerage in the House of Lords, an unelected bureaucrat, if you will, assigned by the guy, Boris Johnson, who campaigned against unelected bureaucrats in the EU. So, I mean, apparently it's not okay when it's in the EU, but it's totally fine when it's from a fascist regime, Russia, and even if that has some compromising geopolitical implications. All right, so yeah, and the British security services warned that granting him a peership would pose a national security risk, but he went ahead with it anyway, despite the security service assessment. And I'm pretty sure as well, if I remember, there were a bunch of things that came out in the Russia report in the US after it was investigated, about Russian corruption with regards to the United States election, but also, around sort of the West in general anyway, to see where NATO's or this sort of, that kind of Western, our Western generalized geopolitical interest is compromised. And there was a part in the Russia report about Brexit, but that's a whole other topic for another day, so I'll save that for another time. But yeah, so he's got a seat in the House of Lords. He has voting power, so he can essentially vote things down and vote for things he wants. And I imagine he would be advising the government directly on things that they could add or subtract or whatever to bills that serve his political interests. You know what I mean? Or Russia's geopolitical interests. So, that's some seriously crazy stuff. And when you consider as well that he has like a 65% share in, the Evening Standard, he owns it. If he wants to do a propaganda piece, for say Boris Johnson, then he could totally do that. Oh, what's this? He did. So it turns out Boris Johnson, oops, wrong one. Boris Johnson and this guy have been buddy since the late noughties. So with the Evening Standard going in all-out support of Johnson as the Mayor of London, Johnson's been reported to have attended vodka and caviar parties hosted by Alexander, I think that's his dad, and Evgeny Lebedev. I don't know if that's how you say his name. Frankly, I don't care. In the UK and Italy throughout the 2010s. Okay. So, there's this. I would say there's obviously a conflict of interest, to say the least. But I would speculate in saying that there could even be a quid pro quo situation going on. And the reason why I think that is because if you think about it this way, this guy owns, a major part of our media ecosystem, right? He has a sway on voting behavior. If he wants to get somebody elected, he can do that. Or, he can help to do that. In this case, he helped with Boris Johnson by putting out this article, which I'll touch on more in a moment. Now, he could say, okay, yeah, I'll do that if you do this instead, if you implement this policy. And I'm not, I don't know a whole lot, excuse me, I don't know a whole lot about Johnson's time in office when he was mayor, right? I know he had like a lot of corruption going on and a lot of bonkers things. But I wouldn't mind betting that there was some dodgy dealing going around, with regards to some policy that he would have liked in that area. I'm not sure, but it wouldn't surprise me. But as it applies to, him getting the prime ministership, I would say that there's almost definitely like a sort of quid pro quo going on. And, again, this guy has a big chunk of the right-wing media in the country, and he can put out a piece on endorsing Johnson. Johnson says, do you know what? You've been really kind to me. I'm going to reward you with a lordship where you're going to have access to private information, which is going to compromise the national security of this country. All right? So, that's some really serious stuff. To say nothing of all the financing garbage that's going on. I read earlier that if you look at the GDP of Great Britain, Northern Ireland, I guess, too, by extension, I should have just said the United Kingdom, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I read that about 10% of our GDP comes from Russian money. So I haven't verified that, and it's something I'm going to look more into, and I'll probably do a segment on it. But yeah, I find that fascinating and actually extremely scary. I thought the corruption was bad, but I didn't realize it was that bad, if that's true. So yeah, but this is serious stuff, man. Let's take a look here. So just taking a look at my notes. Yeah, okay. All right, so yeah, see, this is basically just, a propaganda piece. He says today if he can make these two, okay. When the face of a Prime Minister who laboured in office but not in power, must harden his credibility he has with Brexiteers and the liberal internationalist credentials he displayed as mayor. So, they're just trying to make him look electable, basically, to the right wing and the centrists, it seems like. Here, and yeah, just standard, bullshit, really. But yeah, that's the reality of the situation. Yeah. Trying to see if I can find anything that's particularly worthy of note here. He says today he can make, yeah. Yeah. So look, if you want to read this, I'll put this in the description of the video yourself. It's very boring stuff, It's just bog standard propaganda piece. Not that much to note. But yeah, it's noteworthy, at least, in principle itself. So yeah, so that's all for now. I'm gonna try and make these videos short. I'm gonna try and do one a day. Just I need to kind of get used to this format of just doing short videos and not overcomplicating things, because I can waffle on a bit and whatnot. So if you found this video interesting, please share it with somebody who you feel will be receptive to it, with your family, your friends, whatever. And I hope you find that informative. And yeah, I think we need to really reconsider our voting interests as our voting habits as a country, because if this shit keeps going on, the propaganda mill is going to get worse, and it's going to get more gummed up with Russian influence, and that's really not good for us. We don't want to be a puppet state. So yeah, let's prevent this from happening. Nice one. Thanks for listening. Take care. Like and subscribe. Cheers.